I'm God sent, like he sent me up so I can relay these messages. This is a clarification bar. Earlier, God sent sounded instinctual, almost defensive. Here, Kodak defines what God sent means to him. Not fame, not wealth, not invincibility. Function. Sent me up equates to elevation with purpose. Relay these messages equates to messenger, not owner. That's prophetic language, whether he means it consciously or not. He's framing his rise as delivery, not reward. This is the difference between God blessed me, God using me. That's a big jump. Like he used me as his vessel, like he used me as an instrument. This line removes ego, and that's important. A vessel doesn't choose the contents. An instrument doesn't play itself. Kodak is positioning himself as something moved through, something acted upon, something activated. That's why this doesn't feel like a God complex. It feels like burden awareness. There's humility baked in here, even if the lifestyle contradicts it. They locked me in a box. They hate how God just keep on blessing me. Now the polarity snaps back in. They is the systems, institutions, gatekeepers, enemies. Locked me in a box equals incarceration, confinement, limitation. But look at the tension. External confinement, internal spiritual expansion. The box is physical. The blessing keeps moving away. That's the conflict. This line is saying you can restrict my body, but you can't shut down the assignment. That's why the hate exists. Not because of Kodak himself, but because containment isn't working. Let's talk about the repetition of they locked me in a box. Same line, different meaning. This is subtle but powerful. First time, they locked me in a box. They hate how God just keep on blessing me. That's interpretation looking outward. The second time, they locked me in a box. I pray to God this ain't my destiny. That's fear looking inward. Same situation, two readings. One moment he sees purpose, the next moment he feels uncertainty. That's honesty. This is where the wrestling peaks. This pair of lines shows both sides of the internal dialogue. Maybe they can't stop what God is doing through me, but what if this is just my life? What if this is it? That's not lack of faith, that's human reality. Belief doesn't erase doubt, it coexists with it, and that's why this testimony feels real. The box isn't just prison, it's public narrative, stereotype, expectation, assigned fate. So when he prays, this ain't my destiny, he's not just talking about a sentence, he's talking about being reduced. Don't let my calling shrink to my circumstances. That's the prayer. This is a perfect bridge into the verse because at this point the listener understands Kodak believes he's chosen, Kodak believes he's used, Kodak knows he's flawed, Kodak is scared the box might win. So when the verse starts, it's no longer just storytelling, it's evidence. The verse becomes, if this ain't my destiny, here's why. And that's powerful framing. He sent me up so I can relay these messages. On the surface, this just sounds like elevation. Sent me up equals put me on, lifted me, raised my position. But language carries direction whether we intend it to or not. Up only exists if there's a down. And earlier in the testimony, Kodak already named the down. Scheming, demon semen, buried under rocks, locked in a box. So when he says sent me up, the natural question becomes up from where? Let's talk about the vertical symbolism, even if it's unintentional. In almost every spiritual framework people grow up with, heaven equals above, hell equals below. So when Kodak says sent me up, it subtly places his origin beneath the surface. That doesn't mean he's literally saying I came from hell, but symbolically it fits the testimony he's already given. He's already described darkness, internal demons, survival mode behavior. So sent me up can be heard as I wasn't operating in a clean place, but the message still needed delivery. That's powerful, even if subconscious. This connects back to demon semen in a non-random way. Earlier when he says scheming like a demon semen, that line felt shocking, but now it gains context. If part of his energy comes from chaos, survival, and shadow instincts, then being sent up suggests transmutation, not erasure. Not God removed the darkness from me, but God lifted me out of it and used me anyway. That's an important distinction. Let's talk about the messenger theology, and we'll do it without church language. This actually lines up with the very old idea that shows up across cultures. Messengers don't come from comfort. They come from experience. They speak the language of where they've been. So if Kodak is saying I was sent up so I can relay these messages, then the implication is I know the terrain below. That's why the message has weight. You don't send someone who's never been through it to explain it. Hidden bars aren't always conscious choices. They're often truth leaking through language. Artists speak the instinct. Instinct pulls from lived symbolism. So even if Kodak wasn't thinking heaven versus hell, up, down, ascension, descent, the body of work still supports that reading. That's not overreach. That's pattern recognition, okay? When he says God sent me up, that word choice is interesting. Up implies direction. It suggests elevation from somewhere beneath the surface, which lines up with how he's already described his mind state, his scheming, even his calling his own energy demonic. Whether intentional or not, it frames his rise as extraction, not just promotion. This isn't about hell imagery for shock. It's about origin versus assignment. Kodak is saying, I didn't start clean, I didn't start light, but the message still mattered. So God didn't wait for perfection. God worked with material. That's why the testimony feels honest, and that's why this line hits harder the more you sit with it.